You're on.
Gavel this work session of the Anchorage Assembly to order. We're here for a work session on AO number 2018-116 regarding fireworks. Mr. Trainee,
Thank you.
take it away.
If we can assume that
No, take it away.
Sorry.
I was-
If we can assume that fireworks are used every year on New Year's Eve, which they are, right now we play this game. Don't use your fireworks. Go inside, light the sprinklers with your kids, and run inside the house so nobody can see you doing that. Fireworks haven't been legal in Anchorage for a few years. It was legal for 2 years.
1 second, can we just identify ourselves for the record? I didn't do that and she reminded me.
Big training.
Savannah Barrett,
Felix Grass. Pete Peterson.
Austin Davidson.
Eric Croft.
Dean Gates, Councilman.
Sorry, go ahead, Dick.
Anyway, if we can assume that fireworks are used every year in Anchorage on New Year's Eve, which they are, if we don't approve this, is it going to cut back on use of fireworks? No. How many accidents we had on fireworks usage? We had one guy about 4 years ago, an Air Force staff sergeant, that lit a mortar in his hand, and he was drunk at the time and held it till it exploded. Lost a few fingers. Beyond that, we don't have a problem with fireworks. People that are dumb and drink have a problem using explosives. Anyway, how many tickets do we give? We give none during New Year's Eve. There's not a single ticket issued by the police department. They've got everything to do with their time. Now, some people argue they're afraid of the noise of fireworks. Other people like the noise of fireworks. I've heard people complain, "You're going to scare my dog." Okay?
You had the
They're
same
close
call
to
with me.
that. I have friends who enjoy fireworks with their dogs. The dogs love it. They keep things on. I've been through this numerous times. Okay? I've heard every argument under the sun. But this is going to reduce the amount of fireworks that go off on New Year's Eve. No. As long as you buy fireworks in Houston, they're going to use it in Anchorage. So let's admit reality and let people use it rather than not. So that's the reason we're bringing this forward. It's going to happen whether you approve it or not.
I have Mr. Riviera and then Ms. LaFrance.
Really?
Riviera now?
Oh man.
Oh, man. How do you pronounce it?
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chair. So, two questions for my dearly beloved colleague from Midtown and the sponsor of this ordinance, Mr. Trainee. So, I'm curious.
We're talking only 3 hours, by the way. Okay.
Okay, so just a week ago or so, I got a complaint on Nextdoor about fireworks. One of the neighbors was.
That's a spurious social media
So-
site.
Wait, let him finish.
That's not the point, Mr. Trainee, but thank you. So, so it happens year round. So I'm curious why this is so focused on New Year's and what paradigm you think would work for year round. And then second, if I could get my second question in, is since you readily admit that there is no enforcement for this, what's the purpose of putting times around it? Because then that would assume outside of those times there would be enforcement.
It would not assume there is enforcement. It would allow people to realize they can use it legally for 3 hours, and that would get it out of their system. Now, you were talking about why don't we do it on New Year's Eve? Because we live in Alaska. Why would you want to do it in the middle of summer when you can't see it? New Year's Eve, people can see it. Nothing's going to burn. We've got 1 to 2 feet of snow at any given time. That's the reason we're having New Year's Eve.
Seems a great amount of logic, Mr. Trainee.
Ms. LaFrance and then me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on enforcement, I mean, that is one piece of feedback that I've consistently received is there's certain groups of people who want to see more enforcement of the ban. And so a couple questions. And I mean, historically, was there any specific places that was the impetus for banning fireworks? And also, has APD, AFD weighed in on this proposal?
The answer is neither APD nor AFD has weighed in on it. The reason for years ago, I actually got the Assembly to approve it for a 2-year test demonstration project. And I couldn't get the Assembly to go on any further on it because they got complaints from people that don't like fireworks. That's how it works. And I've got friends who do like fireworks. And they're not going to stop using them on New Year's Eve. I simply want to allow them for 3 blessed hours in a year to use fireworks without worrying about their neighbors turning them in. Because the police department's never gonna show up anyway. They have other things to do with their time. And when we have shootings, we can't even get people to show up. There's not the amount of officers out there. So let's make reality and let people in Anchorage use fireworks for 3 hours. Why are we trying to restrict the usage of what essentially is used all over the world? 3 hours, it's not much time.
Did you have more, Mr. Hess? Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, we had a record amount of fireworks go off in my neighborhood on the 4th of July. And the police were called when one household just kept firing them off. 1:30 in the morning, they're still going off. And someone grabbed a weapon and went over there, and there was almost a shooting in my neighborhood because of fireworks. And so I don't shoot fireworks off myself. I did when I was a kid, whenever my parents went around, because they wouldn't let me do it when they were there. And so I'm not anti-fireworks, although when I had my black lab, he absolutely hated the fireworks. So I know it's a strange situation because people are going to do it whether it's legal or illegal. But I just think if we legalize it, we just ask for additional people to shoot fireworks off that might not normally do it if it was illegal.
Ms. Quinn Davidson and then Mr. Dyson.
Oh, I thought you wanted to go ahead.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I think the argument of whether something people are going to do it, whether it's legal or illegal, is a silly argument. I mean, that's why we have rules. Otherwise, we just say everyone's going to do what they want anyway, so just let's not have any rules at all. So that's not very compelling to me. I have a question about E, which is 3E on the second page. Should there be a amount of feet there? It says within or from any structure or vehicle. And does that apply? So is that the main piece? I'm trying to think of how this impacts neighborhoods. And so if you're within so many feet from a house, which H also addressed 20 feet. But can you talk, Dick, about how those two relate?
We just had that, so people were going to it right next to their neighbor's house to light fireworks. So we got to do it within your own yard.
But that's H, right?
Yeah.
So what's E?
Holding it while you're in it, you mean? You set it off while I'm in my house or in my car?
Yes.
Oh, it's actually within it.
Yeah.
I thought it meant
Or
that.
from.
Oh, wow. Okay. That would make, so I agree with that provision. Okay.
So you vote for the ordinance now?
Probably not. And then F, the noise sensitive zone, do we have those? Or is that just assuming they might come later?
Assuming it might be noise
Okay.
sensitive. I don't know if we have any now. Let's assume it might be.
And so you would be allowed to, if this were to pass, light fireworks in your backyard as long as you're 20 feet from your neighbor's house. Okay, and I appreciate the use of the term stench bomb. I haven't really seen that in any ordinances before, so I like that. Anyway, those are my comments.
Those are written by two of our best attorneys, Ken and Julia.
Did you need in, Mr. Gates?
Yes, please. I was going to comment on Ms. Quinn Davidson's questions. And I think I would give Julia 95% of the credit here on this one. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. So the E3E is within or from, so if you're standing in the back of a pickup truck, you're not in it, but around it,
Got it.
or the top of your house, for
Okay.
example. So I think that applies there as well. And then the noise-sensitive zones, it's in code in the section that's cited here, 1574. I had looked into some other issue and asked the DHHS director and their staff would have any noise-sensitive zones currently in Anchorage, and I asked that question to them about maybe 6-9 months ago. We don't have any, even though it's in code. There's none designated.
Senator Dyson?
I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's narrowly framed, and Ms. Quinn Davidson, both I want us to follow the rules, in place. But we need to be thoughtful, overly stringent or irrational, we end up with scofflaws that then degrade our overall respect for the law. You know, and that's both sides of that same coin. And one of the reasons that people, I think, continue to fire fireworks on New Year's Eve, it is such a part of our culture, you know, and so on and so forth. And there's no fire damage, and most people are still up at midnight anyways. And so it just kind of seems that that's the two edges of it. And Pete, respectfully, I respect your enthusiasm and so on, but the problem with the guy with the gun, you know, wasn't the fireworks. It was a immature citizen with bad judgment. And you know, if we want to restrict the freedom of 300,000 people because of the possibility that it'll trigger another stupid person with bad judgment. And by the way, I would argue I got more stupid people in my district than you do. Or maybe, no, probably not. I can't support that.
Well, the guy had two toddlers, and I couldn't.
Yeah, but I think within the legal training that our attorneys get, there's at least a proverb that says the hard cases make for bad laws, you know, and us trying to avoid or get away with or satisfy dealing with the occasional bad guy like that and with overly strict laws at some point gets counterproductive or counter-indicated. Thank you. And that was respectful.
As well. Thank you.
Me and then whoever else wants in the queue. But so I know you bring this up periodically or regularly, Mr. Trainee. Even if there were, it were appropriate to do generally, is it a good idea to do this year following the earthquake? That is, I don't think my dog has been particularly sensitive to fireworks. A little bit, didn't like them, but totally freaked out now still from the earthquake. Like, is this a bad time to reintroduce this?
I don't think it is. We were at loss for humans. Give your dog a sleeping pill. They're good for hours. Quite frankly, my job is, from my perspective, is to let Americans enjoy as much freedom as they can without hurting each other. This doesn't hurt each other. It allows people to enjoy their freedom and to celebrate. Some people like to celebrate New Year's different ways. Some like to shoot fireworks off. Okay? And it's going to go on whether it's legal or not, and I appreciate your concern about that. But the reality is, it's going to be utilized in Anchorage. I got family and friends that drive up there and get all the fireworks they can, bring it down here. And you can say it's not legal here, but go up on the hillside and watch the bowl down here. It lights up on New Year's Eve. It does every year. And I got calls from people, you know that one church that's there, the chapel overlooking the inlet as you've been to South Anchorage? They had contacted me numerous times because they used to have a New Year's Eve party where they could shoot fireworks out there. And said we can't do that anymore. We used to get calls from people because they're on the bluff. They can shoot fireworks out there and they enjoy doing that. It's a comradeship for a lot of people in this town. We enjoy
Chapel by the sea.
What?
Chapel by the sea.
They had fun.
Mr. Constant arrived maybe 10 minutes ago. Should have recognized him then. Mr. Rivera and then Mr. Constant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, two additional questions. So, first is, maybe I'm missing it, but I'm not seeing anything in here that talks about any environmental considerations or concerns, and wondering how that might interact.
I don't thought about that, Felix. What environmental concerns do you have? I mean, it's fireworks, good heavens. It just goes up and explodes. There's a little bit of smoke and then it dissipates. What type of environmental concerns are you concerned about?
Well, I mean, we have, for example, fire bans for a reason, right? So
right, that's the reason we don't do it in the wintertime. We do it in the summertime, in the wintertime, and New Year's Eve. What are you going to burn down when you got this much snow? Nothing.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily correct, but moving on. I just have to go back to this enforcement piece because it's just weighing on me too much. look at page 3 of 3, section D on there. Any person using fireworks shall clean up and lawfully dispose of the debris within 12 hours after use of the fireworks. How do you enforce that?
People that use fountains, for example, shoot marks off. Something, when they're done with it, make sure the fire's out in the thing, and put it in the garbage can when they're done. And I know a lot of people, in the summertime, of course, you've got some that explode, that come spring, get out there and clean it up. Can they do it within 12 hours? No, not reality. It depends on what they're using and how they're gonna clean it up. But they're responsible for cleaning up their fireworks, most much of it. If you're using a sparkler with a kid, you simply get rid of it when they're done. Dispose of it. Which kid in this room has used sparklers when they were little? Or did check your children out to play with sparklers? Right, everybody uses it. Kids enjoy it. Fireworks.
Thank you. So maybe I just have really strict parents, but I just have to reiterate: you're assuming the average responsible citizen will be able to fit within the frame of this.
I'm thinking about my constituents are not down by nature. They're very good citizens and they're responsible. Unlike some in here think their constituents are down.
That represents Bernard.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Constant.
Thank you. I don't know where I sit on this. I see both sides, and I am quite supportive of the civil liberties aspect in much of what I do. I believe people should have the right to live the life they choose to live insofar as they don't create harmful impacts. But I help a lot of veteran friends who I hear from every year when the fireworks go off, and I hear their cries of help in their moments of PTSD. And so I'm torn on this question, but I have a process question. Is it feasible that we, as a test case, make it expire at the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2019 so that we see if all these great horribles come along after January 1?
Chris, if that's what it takes you to get rid of this, I'm happy to go 2 years on this. We did that before. We did it for 2 years. It was not a problem. You're always going to have people that have PTSD of some magnitude. They're going to have a problem with noises going off. That happens.
Yeah, so that's definitely my question is, can we make it short term?
So, Mr. Gates?
Oh, thank you. Mr. Constant asked about the environmental concerns, and I'm not sure if there's... Oh, okay. Mr. Geeks. So, I'm sorry, pronunciation's not my thing, so... I can only speculate, but the state has statutes restricting the types of fireworks that people are allowed to have and sell for end user and consumers, So they've restricted that. And that's cited at page 1 and B2. There's a state statute on saleable fireworks, and also the lead-in sentence in subsection B. It mentions at line 24, possession of the use of 1.4 G fireworks defined by the National Fire Protection Association. So I think there's been some studies and research done probably about safety, and I think the saleable part might relate some to the environmental effects of fireworks by limiting to what's saleable. I can't say for sure, but I know there's been some studies by technical organizations, with expertise that we don't have, that have looked at this as to what's safe and allowed. Environmental effects, I'm not sure, but I speculate that the NFPA and the state law that was enacted probably look at that issue.
Thank you. Ms. LaPrance?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one question I have, or I guess a concern I have, is that it seems, you're never going to stop people from using fireworks, even if they're legal and banned. I would assume there would be more people using fireworks. Like this would probably cause additional people, right, to set up fireworks. And so my concern would be, especially for young people and kids. I grew up in the valley. We did wear seatbelts. We had asphalt playgrounds, and we set off more fireworks than I can remember.
That's why you turned out so well.
Me too. It was fun, and I don't know how we survived, but we did. But I do have that concern. Anchorage is a much bigger city than the valley, and
Let me tell you, the 2 years we had fireworks legal, there was not a single incident where we had somebody hurt. We had 300,000 people approximately at that time. It did not happen. There's no one hurt. So one guy was speaking to wherever Air Force Staff Sergeant, flight engineer, got drunk with his friend, put him on his hand and lit it until it exploded. He was one that needed not to be on an airplane anyway. He said, like, took himself all the place. But there was no problems at all. No incidents, no fires, nobody taking emergency room. It was not a problem. We had the same concerns at that time.
Mr.
It
Dyson.
wasn't a problem.
Sorry, Mr. Training. Mr. Dyson.
Yeah, Ms. LaFrance, you put your finger on the classic battle we had. When we put more and more rules in to give people more peace, a nice place to live, and more safety, we always restrict freedom. And you're a parent, and so am I. How do you teach kids? By keeping them safe, never letting them have any responsibility where they may not get hurt? No. It's progressive and stuff. I live in the district that has the highest percentage of active retired military in the whole state. We sit in theirs, and I'm up 700 feet. There are people higher than me. Much of the summer, and now some of the winter, we're here in the military training. You know, and you hear the 105s and the mortars. I can tell, so can Dick, the difference between the cyclic rates on the 50 cals and the other automatic weapons and so on and so forth. We watch the helicopters firing off stuff, and we see the paratroopers. I have helicopters over at my house probably 70 days out of a year, and hear the whomp, whomp, whomp of it, and so on and so forth. You know what we think? That's the sound of freedom. I've had a constituent call me up and bitch because his cocktail glass sitting on the railing was vibrating because of the blankety blank cannons going on. You know, I've never had a single complaint, except for that idiot who was really probably putting me on, jerking my chain, from anybody in my area. And we listen to it a lot. And we also have float planes taking off the lower Fire Lake, throttle up, getting off on the short lake. You know, those are the things we're willing to live with because of giving our neighbors, and particularly the military, the freedom to do what they need to do. So, I'm sorry, I'm lecturing, but this is the classic battle we all make, the sacrificing of freedom and individual responsibility to make a larger group of people safe from potential problems. Consider yourself lectured to.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
did almost burn down the house once, but
Sorry?
we did almost burn down the house. Fireworks,
Did you learn?
but somebody did.
Mr. Peterson.
How long before they could sit down?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 1 here, line 24, it says, uses the term 1.4G fireworks. What is that?
Well, I can't really answer, but I think it's the amount of explosive force in the fireworks at a level. So this was saleable fireworks 1.4 G, and under the amount of explosive force that's packed into product. I think that's
So
what's
the
reached.
maximum amount of explosive is 1.4 grams or something, or yeah, is that what it is?
I don't know. I could look and find out and email you later.
I just wondered, I thought maybe
Dick
some of
might
the
know.
fireworks experts would know
What was
that.
It's 1.4 grams, but I can find others. The small firecrackers are 1.4 grams. You get larger ones though.
Oh, yeah.
Not know anything about that.
You could make an amendment to up it.
I really do appreciate that.
Anybody else with questions or comments or concerns? I guess I was looking at the Guerrilla Fireworks website, and they list grenades, sparklers, mortar kits, fountains, Roman candles, and skyrockets. So is all this just in that 14G limit, or is there, do you categorically limit it?
I'd have to look, I don't know. I can check my Tuesday though.
That's right. Anybody else? I think Mr. Haberman is off to get us all in
He cares
trouble.
about fireworks, I guess.
I think he does. I think there's some fireworks coming. Yeah. Anybody else?
Funny is, years ago when I got the 2-year exemption for
Yeah.
fireworks saying you could use it, the Matsu adopted the same program, but they made it permanent. So it depends. I guess Eugene went up there to use his fireworks.
Jack's fireworks like marijuana.
If there's nobody else, this work session is adjourned.